I had hit rock bottom, or so I thought. I moved to the city thinking I could finally live a normal life. But what awaited me was a marriage where I was nothing more than a servant, completely obedient to a worthless man. That was my wake-up call. I can't go on like this. I need to change. My name is Lily. I'm 28. I spend my days watching TV in a condo in New York. You might think I'm living the life, but it's far from enjoyable. It feels like I'm trapped in a prison without bars. My husband, Frederick, comes into this room every 2 or 3 days. He shows up unannounced, like it's some kind of surprise inspection. If I'm not here when he arrives, he loses it.
Do you want a divorce? Because I can give you one.
He becomes uncontrollable, shouting and screaming. So I can't leave this place. How did I end up like this? No, I know why. Running away into marriage was a mistake. I was born in Eureka, Orange County, California. My father ran a construction company. I was the only daughter of the CEO, raised without a care in the world. I was a good student, and people had high expectations for me. But when I was in 9th grade, the recession hit, and the company went under. To make matters worse, a business my father's best friend was involved in also failed. My father, who was a co-signer, ended up with a mountain of debt. He sold our land and house to pay it off, but the debt remained. Eventually, my father's health deteriorated due to stress, and he passed away. Soon after, my mother fell seriously ill and followed him. I didn't want to stay in my hometown, so I moved to the city. For the next 2 years, I got by with day jobs. You have such fair skin. You'll definitely be popular. No doubt about it. That's when I was scouted and entered the world of nightlife. Of course, at first, I didn't get any clients. I learned the ropes from my seniors, figuring out how to handle customers. Working in a hostess club was far from easy. There was hazing, quotas for companionship and requests, and even fines for not meeting those quotas. My life and skin were a mess due to the irregular hours and alcohol. That's when Frederick walked into the club. He was the CEO of a web consulting venture. An elite among elites, he had started his business while still in college. At the time, he was doing really well, expanding his business at an incredible pace. But he was despised by all the hostesses at the club. He would constantly insult us while we were serving him.
You're working in a hostess club with those looks? It must be nice, being able to work even if you're not that smart. Marilyn from the club next door is way better looking than you.
Most of the hostesses at our club took great pride in their appearance. Being assigned to Frederick meant having your pride shattered, so everyone avoided him. On top of everything, I was saddled with my parents' debt, and my life was at a dead end. I had nothing to lose. Maybe it was my genuine personality, but Frederick started to request me.
Talking to you makes me realize how human I am,
he'd say. But I had low self-esteem to begin with, so I didn't mind being treated poorly. Then one day, Frederick asked me to accompany him and dropped this bombshell.
Do you want to marry me?
What? Why would you ask that? I was taken aback by his sudden proposal. There was no way I could develop romantic feelings for a man like Frederick, who seemed to wear his misogyny like a suit. And Frederick wasn't the type to long for a happy home or a comforting space. Was he thinking about children? Preparing for business succession, perhaps? But if that were the case, he would have just told me to have his child. I was really confused. Then Frederick said,
Look, I have my reputation and social standing to consider.
Ah, I see.
People look down on me for being single. It's a hassle.
So, being married would be advantageous for your business?
You get it. So what do you say? I'll support you and even buy you a high-rise condo.
I couldn't answer right away. Is it okay to marry for business reasons? Would I regret it?
How about I pay off your debt? What do you say?
Honestly, that was the clincher. If marriage could give me money and freedom, then who cares about the partner or the reason? This is my chance. I'll seize it and reclaim my life. That's how I convinced myself to agree to marry Frederick. It didn't take long to realize that this was a huge mistake. Frederick, who was already dismissive, became even worse after we got married. He usually lives elsewhere and shows up every 2 or 3 days.
When I come over during the day, ask me if I want to eat. Don't you have any common sense? Didn't I tell you not to skip cleaning? This is my room that I'm renting. Hey, we're out of wine. Go buy a bottle of red and white right now.
I was essentially a slave or a servant, even though I was given the title of a housewife. I had anticipated this, but it felt even worse than I had imagined. Of course, when I asked for better treatment, he wouldn't listen. Whenever we argued, he threatened me with divorce to make me back down.
Look at this.
It was a divorce application form. He had apparently gone to the courthouse to get it.
Why don't you stamp it too? That way, it's ready whenever something happens.
In response, I would often retort, "Sure, why not? Shall I file it the next time I'm out?" Each time, Frederick would give me a cold stare. By this point, I was seriously considering divorcing Frederick every single day. There were 2 reasons. One, I was treated less than human. The other was that Frederick's once thriving business seemed to be faltering. He was increasingly irritable. The number of times he invited business associates to this room had significantly decreased. Also, there were now limits on the money I could spend each month, and I was being asked to economize.
Don't buy anything unnecessary, got it? I'll cancel your card in a heartbeat.
And the icing on the cake? Frederick started using me to cut labor costs. He dumped data from his company onto my personal computer.
Input this data. I'm going to take a nap. Finish it in 3 hours.
He was pushing part of his company's work onto me, who wasn't even an employee. The tasks didn't stop at data entry. The volume and complexity of the work escalated. I even found myself preparing presentation materials for other companies and managing budgets and performance. One time, a man claiming to be Mr. Pratt, a department head at the company, called me.
The boss told me to contact his secretary, so...
Secretary? Is that how I'm being treated at the company? When I clarified that I was actually his wife, Mr. Pratt was very apologetic. From then on, Mr. Pratt and I started sharing information over the phone. According to him, many people were quitting Frederick's company. Frederick's personal flaws were becoming more apparent as the company's performance worsened.
He constantly berates and belittles his subordinates.
I can imagine. I'm sorry you have to deal with that.
The company's on the brink of collapse.
That afternoon, when Frederick stormed into the room, he was already fuming.
Everyone's defying me. Hey, bring me some booze.
Drinking in the afternoon might not be the best idea.
Just shut up and bring it. You're so useless.
Well, we don't have any alcohol in stock.
What?
You told me not to buy anything unnecessary. We're out of booze.
Then go buy some now, or else it's divorce.
Here we go again. I let out an exaggerated sigh. Fine, let's divorce. The paperwork has already been filed anyway.
What? You filed it?
Didn't I tell you I would? I said I'd file it the next time I was out. As I calmly responded, Frederick trembled with rage.
Fine, I don't care about the past. Just get out.
I was planning to. Thanks for everything. I had been preparing my belongings for days. Some items were already shipped out. I bowed to a red-faced, furious Frederick and quickly left the room. From a high-rise condo in New York to a 40-year-old apartment, my standard of living plummeted, but my joy was immeasurable. I can restart my life from here. No more restrictions from anyone. First, I contacted Mr. Pratt, one of my allies. Hello?
Hello, are you okay? Did you manage to get out safely?
Yes, I'm fine. Looking forward to working with you. I already received an email from Mr. Pratt about a new business plan. The business we are planning to develop is a type of matching service. We're planning to launch a type of matching service focused on night work. Drawing on my experience in the field, we aim to create a more user-friendly system. I've already gained experience in business simulations through the work Frederick had me do. I was excited for the new life that starts tomorrow. 5 years had passed since I divorced Frederick and started a new venture with Mr. Pratt. I was overseeing the move to our expanding company's new office when I spotted a familiar face among the movers.
No way! Is that you?
Among the moving workers wearing matching work clothes, I saw a familiar face. Frederick, is that you? Long time no see. He looked worn and different, but it was unmistakably Frederick. He seemed to have noticed me first and looked uncomfortable. Why are you working as a mover?
Could you, not right now, I'm working.
Ignoring Frederick's reluctance, I pressed him for what had happened since we parted ways. His company had gone bankrupt due to excessive debt and a high turnover rate. The number of people quitting increased, and it was a big cause that the company stopped turning around. I'm sorry to hear that.
Why are you sorry?
Because Mr. Pratt and I may have had a hand in encouraging your employees to leave. In truth, Mr. Pratt and I had been conspiring to start a new business at that time. We actively recruited those who wanted to quit and made them our allies. More than half of my current employees were from Frederick's company. Hearing this, a flash of his old intensity returned to Frederick's eyes.
You backstabbing.
Don't be dramatic. You brought this on yourself.
Me?
You mismanaged the company and didn't care for your employees. Mr. Pratt and the others just wanted a better work environment. Blaming traitors when you didn't manage well is laughable. No company can survive without good people, and Frederick never valued his. I think it's only natural that everyone left Frederick. I'll continue to use your company as a cautionary tale.
Do whatever you want.
I continue to watch Frederick, now a mover, work hard and sweat. The man who once looked down on me had fallen so far. Life is unpredictable, I thought. Frederick's life continued to be miserable. He tried to start new ventures multiple times, but failed each time. He was abandoned by business partners and even swindled out of money. I have been asked for money several times. He even begs me for money over the phone.
Could you help me out a little?
If I help you once, you'll keep coming back.
It'll be just this once, I promise. I won't bother you again.
People change, I thought. The man who once belittled me was now begging. Talking to you reminds me how human I am.
I don't know what to say, Lily. Please.
I have no intention of lending you money. Please look elsewhere. I hung up the phone without hesitation. Since then, I've had no contact with Frederick. I later heard that he fled to Oregon to escape debt collectors. His attempts at running a business never succeeded again. He's apparently making ends meet by doing odd jobs and collecting empty cans. Collecting cans? Frederick?
I couldn't believe it either, but it's true.
Mr. Pratt, who happened to be on a business trip in Oregon, saw it with his own eyes and even took a photo. I looked at the image on Mr. Pratt's smartphone. Frederick was on a bike, wearing a grungy tracksuit and jacket. Bags full of empty cans were piled high on both the front and back of the bike. No doubt he was exchanging these for cash to survive. It's really sad, isn't it? Absolutely, but he brought it on himself. He never valued people. I agreed with Mr. Pratt. Frederick never valued the people around him. People are sustained by the support of others, something he never considered. He pushed people away by belittling them and using harsh words, even his own wife. As a result, he lost his company, his relationships, and now he's collecting cans. His current life says it all. It's all self-inflicted. I hope he continues to collect as many cans as possible, all while regretting his actions.
Finally, I'm free from you.
What?
I'm divorcing you. You're no longer needed because I'm gonna inherit $1,980,000.
I had done so much for my husband. He didn't even appreciate it, and simply tried to leave me. Okay, here's the divorce papers. After the divorce was finalized, I sold the house and moved out immediately. My husband doesn't know about a certain secret behind his father-in-law's inheritance yet. My name is Helen, a 55-year-old housewife. I've been married to my husband, Ken, for 27 years. My daughter, Sandra, is 26 years old and just married last year. She is really close with her husband, and she shares things about her love life every time she visits our house. It makes me smile when I see my daughter talking happily, and I'm relieved that her marriage is going well. I'm glad you look happy, Sandra.
Mom, are you okay? Isn't it hard to look after my grandpa?
Oh, I've been doing it for years now, and I'm used to it. Besides, he is going to be hospitalized soon, so I won't have to do that anymore.
Is he? It's unfortunate that he is getting worse, but I'm a little relieved that your burden will be eased. I shouldn't say things like this, though.
Thank you for worrying about me, Sandra.
If you ever need assistance, I'm always here for you. Kevin, my husband, is happy with it.
Well, that's great to hear, but I'm still well enough. I won't need assistance for another 30 years.
That's true.
Thank you, though. That's very kind of you. Enjoy your new married life with Kevin.
Okay, thanks.
I am very grateful that my daughter shows up regularly like this. To be honest, I'm struggling to give him care every day and it's tough. We started living with my husband's parents about 5 years ago. Actually, they wanted to live together much earlier, but I said it was impossible until my daughter graduated from uni and started living on her own. So I asked them to wait. My husband complained about it, but for me, my daughter is more important, and I wanted her to be able to concentrate on her studies without any worries. I wouldn't say that my in-laws are a nuisance, but suddenly having 2 more people to live with would be confusing for a child. Well, it was also the case that I, myself, was not ready for it yet. In fact, a year after we started living together, my mother-in-law got a leg and back problem. Then she ended up needing care. Then my life as a carer began. Until then, I had been working part-time for my daughter's tuition and our retirement, but I couldn't do that anymore and became a full-time housewife, and took care of my in-laws all day long. Fortunately, my in-laws weren't the kind of people who bullied their daughter-in-law, so I wasn't told or done anything terrible by them. But it was still tough, and I was exhausted both mentally and physically every day. Besides, my father-in-law also became ill and needed care, followed by my mother-in-law. And the hardest part was that my husband left everything to me.
You're a full-time housewife, it's your job to take care of him. Do it well. Don't cause trouble for my parents.
Saying like that, he left all the care to me. Of course, he didn't do any housework for me. He wants to say that he earns money working for a company, and that is enough for him. Ideally, my husband, who is their biological child, should be taking care of his own parents. However, even if I said that, my husband would not listen to me. If I told him that, it would obviously lead to a fight. So I put up with it and continued to give them care. Although life as a carer was tough, I got used to it as I mentioned earlier, and after 1 to 2 years, it became less insanely hard. Then, 2 years after I started living with them, my mother-in-law passed away due to illness, and I only had to care for my father-in-law, so my burden eased a little. Now it's like I'm just coasting, staying married, and continuing to give him care. That's about it. It will end soon, because my father-in-law is going to be hospitalized. Just because the caregiving is over doesn't mean I'll get any rewards, or that my income will increase either. All I have is the feeling of finally letting myself go, and a bit of accomplishment. However, I have been worried lately. That is, my husband's attitude has been very overbearing. Until now, he has left me to do all the housework and care for the family, and he has been a bossy husband, but he had not said such terrible words that denied my personality. However, recently, every time he sees me he says something terrible to me.
You really have an unfortunate face. Just being with you seems to make my luck go down. Please get out of my sight when I eat.
My husband says things like that. He makes me cook dinner, then when it's time to cook and serve it, he tells me to get out of the living room. Although he has behaved badly in the past, still it was never this unreasonable. Well, recently, he's been pretty busy at work, working overtime all the time and coming home late at night, and he's been bar hopping all weekend, so he's not at home. However, on Mondays and Tuesdays, or the first half of the week, he often finishes work on time and comes home straight after. It's at those times that my husband gets arrogant with me and stresses me out.
Hey, why haven't the programs been recorded?
Oh, I was recording the drama I watch and...
Don't mess around. There's a program I want to watch at this time on this day. Cancel your recording. What? Do you have a problem? Who do you think is paying for this TV stand, and the electricity to watch TV?
Okay. I'll cancel my recording.
Come on, quick, you idiot. You're always so retarded like that. You're an old bat and can barely do housework, you're such cocky shit.
It's just awful. Why do I have to be told such things? I took care of my in-laws, cooked meals every day, and even made my husband's lunch, but there is no gratitude for that, and I am mentally overwhelmed by being told such abusive words face to face. I didn't think I could take it any longer, if it became terrible like this. I feel stifled just to have my husband in the house with me. That's why I don't want to stay at home on weekends, and I've been trying to visit my father-in-law since he was hospitalized.
Hey, Helen.
Dad, are you all right?
Thank you so much for everything, and I'm sorry.
What happened? It's so out of the blue.
I realize that I haven't been grateful enough until now. You have been working hard to take care of my wife and me. Ken left everything to you, and thought of us as a nuisance. I wonder what would have happened to us, if you weren't there. I'm really grateful.
Dad.
I'm sure you must be having a very hard time right now. Hasn't he been acting differently towards you?
How did you know that?
Well, I heard the conversation every now and then in the living room even when I was in my room, and I can sort of guess when I saw your tired face.
Did I look that tired?
I'm really sorry for causing you trouble.
No, Dad, you haven't done anything wrong.
That's not true. Actually.
I was told a startling truth by my father-in-law. I see, then I can understand why my husband has been acting differently. Perhaps my husband wants to break up with me. That's why he's been behaving so badly, and waiting for me to say that I want a divorce. No way, I'm not letting him do anything exactly the way he wants it. I was very determined to fight him. After that, I went through lots of things to get ready. In the meantime, a few months later, my father-in-law became increasingly ill, and he breathed his last. Because I went to visit him every day, I was able to be present at his end. Even then, he told me how grateful he was to me, which made all my hard work worthwhile. My father-in-law's funeral took place afterwards. My husband left all the arrangements and preparations for the funeral to me, but he served as the chief mourner, and even shed tears in front of relatives to gain sympathy. I felt like I was drifting quickly away from him when I watched him like that. My husband had only taken advantage of me, and had only taken the good parts. I don't think I should be praised or anything, but I felt like he was taking all the credit, and it was very unpleasant. My daughter had also seen how I did all the care and housework, and he left it all to me, so she gave him a frosty look. Later, my father-in-law's funeral went well, and I was at home with my daughter and her husband. But my husband said he was going out for a while, got dressed and went out somewhere. My daughter was disgusted with him.
What the? It's strange to go out after his own father's funeral. Where on earth does he have to go?
My daughter made a pout. He's probably going to see the other woman. When I said that, my daughter and her husband looked shocked.
What the heck? The other woman? Is Dad having an affair?
She asked me with her eyes wide open, so I showed her the evidence I had collected from the detective agency.
Wow, that's disgusting. Why is he having an affair?
He seems to have misunderstood that he will receive a large amount of money. So he went to a nightclub and tried to hit on that girl apparently.
Misunderstood that he would receive a large amount of money?
Your grandpa talked about the inheritance money to him. He apparently didn't mention the debt, but only the money he would get.
Dad is really stupid, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Of course I'm not going to take on debt with him, I'm going to leave him before then.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I'll cut ties with him too. I hope you can get divorced soon, Mom. If there's anything we can do, we'll help you with anything.
Thank you, Sandra. Encouraged by my daughter, I was able to be more brave to separate from my husband. A little while later, I was much more settled with sorting out my father-in-law's belongings and other funeral-related matters. Then one day, my husband told me that he had something to tell me. What? What is it about?
I'm finally free from you now.
What do you mean?
I'm divorcing you. I'm going to receive $1,980,000 of inheritance money, so I don't need you anymore.
Inheritance money. I muttered in surprise, so he grinded and had a triumphant look on his face.
You know, you were a really useless wife. As you got older, I couldn't see you as a woman. I'm leaving you and I'm going to have a free life.
How much have I done for my husband? He didn't thank me for that and simply tried to leave me. I knew it would happen, but when he said it like this, it made my blood boil. Okay, here are the divorce papers. I said it and took the divorce papers from the drawer and presented them to him.
What the heck? You had them ready? How come?
Because you've been speaking harshly to me so much lately. If I'm mentally cornered like that, I will consider divorce.
Well, that's just fine.
He didn't bother to apologize when I told him I was hurt, and took the divorce papers and started filling them in.
Here you go, we are completely not related people. Register this quickly, pack up your stuff and leave. I'll be living in a hotel until you leave. Because there's $1,980,000 coming in.
He laughed loudly as he said that. He packed some clothes for a few days in his carry-on suitcase and left. He says he's living in a hotel, but I think he's going to the other woman's. It seems like he's trying to proceed with the divorce, as if he's not having an affair. I registered the divorce papers to the city council immediately. After the divorce was finalized, I sold the house and quickly moved out. He still doesn't know about the secret hidden in my father-in-law's inheritance. When I informed my ex-husband that I had completely moved out, he laughed and said,
It took so long, but it's okay because I can start a new life now.
But a few days later, my husband called me.
Hey! Why is the house for sale?
Oh, because I sold it.
What the heck are you doing? That house belongs to me, doesn't it?
What are you talking about? That is a house that my father contributed to for us around 20 years ago. So it is under my name. As the owner of the house, it's my personal choice to sell it, right?
What?
He apparently had forgotten that fact.
That's bullshit. You kept quiet about it on purpose, didn't you?
I didn't. You just didn't ask me anything. I didn't think you would forget such an important thing. But since you received $1,980,000, why don't you live happily with your new girlfriend?
What?
Oh, did you ever think I didn't know about it? I've already investigated the fact that you had an affair with a hostess and are trying to get married again. I have all the evidence I need, and I'll have you pay me compensation money through my lawyer.
Ugh. Well, it doesn't matter if you knew or not. I don't care at all if I give you a small amount of money.
He said that and laughed. Okay, that's good. Then the lawyer will contact you. I said that and hung up the phone. A little while later, my lawyer informed me that everything had been settled. Apparently, my ex-husband had been griping about the payment of compensation money. This was because he had already learned all about the gimmick of his father's will when communicating with the lawyer. My father-in-law did have assets of about $1,980,000, but he had more debts than that. So what was left to my ex-husband was a debt of about $66,000, and with the around $20,000 in compensation from me added to that, his debt is around $86,000. Far from becoming a millionaire, he ended up having a lot of debt. He couldn't afford to pay compensation in this situation, and he even got down on his knees and apologized to the lawyer. However, I told my lawyer that I wouldn't stop demanding compensation no matter what, and to suck it even if it happens to seize his salary. So the lawyer didn't change the demand. The lawyer then told him that he could take the case to court, and he eventually agreed to pay. By the way, when the girl he had an affair with found out that my ex-husband wasn't going to receive a large amount of money, she paid only the compensation and disappeared. He also tried to get help from his daughter and her husband, but she had already deleted his contact number and moved out, so he ended up not being able to count on her either. Currently, he is living in a shabby flat, just going back and forth between work and home, living a poor life, and paying off his debts, apparently. He got what he deserved. On the other hand, I initially stayed with my daughter and her husband, then bought an apartment with the money that the house was sold for. It is near the room where my daughter and her husband live, so I often go out for dinner and have tea with them. Also, since I'm still of working age, I started working at a supermarket close to my house. I've decided to enjoy my life fully from now on. The first thing to do is earn money, and I will go on as many trips as my body allows me to.